Hey, Brown Beauties. Welcome to Well Honestly, the podcast, sponsored by Brown Women Wellness. I'm Andretta, a functional nutrition wellness coach.
And I'm Akila. We are your mother-daughter hosts, bringing two different generations together weekly to educate you on all things related to health, nutrition, financial, and mental wellness during these changing times.
Once we know what choices we have, we can do better because we know the struggle to stay healthy is real.
We invite you to come as you are, but leave inspired to become your best healthy self. So let's get started.
And we are back.
We back in this thing.
Episode 66. Can you believe it?
No, I can't. I was just saying how I just can't believe we're in the 60s.
Yes, we are in the 60s. So to all of our listeners out there, we really appreciate your patience.
Yes.
We had to take another little slight hiatus.
Listen, they know. If you've been listening for a while, you know that we both work two very demanding careers, both in real estate. And if you know anything about real estate post-pandemic, then you know that it's crazy out here. So sometimes, juggling all these things can get the best of you. So, we apologize for the delay, but we still got to get this coin and to be able to, podcast, if you will.
Yeah, and we're slowly making changes to our podcast. But we are committed. We want you to know we are committed to you listening every week. We always drop something brand new every Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts. So if you're listening to this one, you're going to enjoy it because today we're going to talk about, are you cooking with toxins and don't know it? So this is a subject that's near and dear to my heart. For a long time, we were all using non-stick utensils, non-stick cookware. So I recently ran into this article about unknown toxins, which are the origin of so many of our ailments. In this functional medical expert, Anthony William, talks about a lot in his books. In fact, his whole premise is surrounding toxins. But in his book, Cleanse to Heal, toxic heavy metals in various parts of our brain is part of the reason that we have so much burnout.
Mm-hmm.
So our brains are electric. And many of us walking around with heavy metal burnout and don't even know it.
Heavy metal burnout.
Heavy metal burnout because our brains are electric. So, and what contributes to this is there are some troublemaker toxic heavy metals. And if you want to get a free list of what those metals are, you can actually go to our website. We're going to talk about them all throughout this podcast. And you'll be able to go to brownwomenwellness.com. And under freebies, you will be able to get this list as we talk about it. You can download a copy.
They're getting the list of the heavy metal toxins. And
just toxins. For this,
just the toxins?
Yeah, just the different toxins that are and what they do. A more complete, comprehensive list.
Okay.
They'll be able to get that as a download. It's a downloadable. So let's talk about some of these viral infections that are deep within our liver and brains that are caused by these heavy metal toxins. So what are some of these toxins?
You have your favorite aluminum foil.
We talked about that on another episode.
Yeah. Mercury, as in like the fillings in your mouth. Well, they used to do fillings with mercury. I don't know if they do that anymore.
They do.
Plastics, air fresheners, and we're talking about like the Febreze, the scented air fresheners that we like to use in our houses, scented candles, colognes, perfume. All those things contain chemicals, that can weaken and lower your immune system. Now, my standpoint, and I know Andretta's going to be a little different, is that, I'm a sucker for a good candle. And I'm not talking about the Bath and Body Works. There's no shade to that either because some of those smell good. They're too strong for me, but Bath and Body Works is a prime example of toxins that come from scented candles. If you think about it, all of those strong scents that you get, they have to come from somewhere.
Right.
They have to make them from somewhere.
A lot of them are alcohol-based too.
Yeah, and the reason why they smell so good and so potent is because they have to chemically make that. So think about all of that just sitting in the air that you breathe on a constant basis. It's almost like the pollutions that you take part in when you are outside in the air, and you have all these buses and vehicles coming by, and you get all that vapor.
Mhm.
It's the same thing. You keep inhaling that and you keep smelling that constantly, constantly, constantly. Yeah, it may not be doing anything to you now, but it's sitting in your system, especially over longer periods of time. So that's just a little food for thought. Cologne as well, perfume. I am a big perfume person.
Mhm. Most
And
people are.
and I do the good stuff. We don't do none of that cheap stuff,
But the
body sprays.
but even the good stuff
But
has
even the good
chemicals.
stuff has chemicals. And I mean,
Mhm.
I'm never not gonna be a perfume person, but I am conscious of I like what I love is that people are starting to go towards more cleaner scents and cleaner things,
Mhm.
but you do have the tried and true things that are just not that clean. So it's just for me about being cognizant of all of this, not necessarily saying you have to change your entire life. If you so choose to, great. But just, if you ever get a random headache and you're like, I feel so ooh, and I don't know why, it could be the everyday things that you are using and spraying that could be causing that.
Because if you're prone to urinary tract infections and sinus infections, eczema, psoriasis, and Hashimoto's, those flare ups, a lot of times you'd be surprised they're coming from your environment around you that's causing it. So, just be conscious of it. But the number one offender we're going to talk about today is plastic.
Mm,
So, because everybody got a bunch of plastic in their house.
for sure.
I mean, we can't live without plastic if you think about it. Plastic it just shows up. I mean, most of us are using putting our hot food into a plastic container. And I thought everybody knew you weren't really supposed to do that, but I found that a lot of people put a lot of hot food in plastic containers. But what happens is that plastic leaches chemicals into your food. And yes, we even talking about those BPA free or microwave safe plastic containers that you see on the shelf. I'm not gonna call no names, but Ziploc is one of the biggest offenders.
As you don't call a
I
name.
don't call none of these names, but these chemicals in the plastic are disruptors and they mess with your hormones and it can lead to disease. So what we're going to do when we come back is provide you with 4 quick kitchen swaps you can make to minimize your exposure to these toxins, and we'll give you some choices here.
All
Okay?
right.
We'll come back. Brown Women Wellness mission is to empower brown women and their families through education and products to help improve their family health and wellness through a lifestyle of easy and actionable steps. I'm Andretta Robinson, functional nutrition wellness coach. In 2008, I was diagnosed with an early stage of cancer. My doctor wanted to remove my womb as a cure, but I was determined there had to be another way. After lots of research, I found a curable alternative, forcing my doctor to treat it without any surgery. And in 2018, I was visiting my aunt in Atlanta after having lost my mother to heart disease and saw her health was in distress with high blood pressure and all things related. A visit to the health food store to formulate herbal teas, which is now called Brown Women Wellness Anti-Inflammation Tea, and a diet and lifestyle change turned my aunt's health around. I knew I had found my calling. We bring you healthy lifestyle information through our Brown Women Wellness website, our Brown Women Wellness Facebook group, emails, Instagram, and other social media websites, and our Well Honestly podcast. Find us. You'll be glad you did.
All right. We're back with the 4 things that you can do to minimize your exposure to toxins right away, not down the road, but right this second. Number 1, you can replace your aluminum foil with unbleached parchment paper when you're lining your pans for baking your foods. And also when you're trying to store your food. Now, we have a cultural phenomenon of storing our food in aluminum foil, but that is also not healthy as well. So getting some unbleached parchment paper will actually do you a world of wonder. You can find that on Amazon. I know that they sell it in Target, and I know that they sell it in what is that? Walmart.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
It's sitting right next to the foil. We just don't pay it any attention.
It is actually.
It's sitting right next to the foil. But let me tell you a little hint. Let me give you a hack for those people that feel like your food ain't being protected unless it's in some aluminum foil. Put it in parchment paper first, your sandwiches that you send out, and then you can wrap the aluminum foil around it. So we
Or
don't want the aluminum foil to touch the food. That's the point.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and just get rid of the aluminum.
Well,
Like,
sometimes,
let's
like if
let's get this notion that aluminum is saving you the freshness of your
well,
food.
some
It's
people have to
not.
pack lunches, and so when they're packing the lunches, that's one of the reasons they use aluminum foil or the Ziploc bags because they want to put it in something. But you can still do it, but wrap it in the parchment paper first so that none of that stuff is touching the food. That's the whole point.
And you can still do Ziploc bags, but that's funny. I
Okay.
think that's the first time we've ever had that happen live.
I know, right? Let me put it on
That's
airplane
funny.
mode.
Y'all should have saw her hitting the phone
They
all
can see me.
crazy.
They can see me.
That's
They
hilarious.
can see me.
The plastic bags, don't heat anything up in them if you're gonna store it in there. Just take it out the bag. If you're gonna continue to use your Ziploc bags, don't just go from Ziploc to microwave or something like that.
Yeah, that's a big offender too, because a lot of people do that, not
Yes.
realizing that the plastic is going into the food. Now, let me give you a hack on the plastic.
This is number 2, by the way.
Number two, mason jars. They
Mhm.
cheap. And you can see through them. They got different sizes, and
They're durable.
your food actually lasts longer in the mason jars than they do in the plastic.
Yeah.
That's been my personal experience when I started using mason jars. So my refrigerator, you open it up, it's full of mason jars.
Yes, it
It's
is.
full of leftovers in the mason jars. It's a great place to store your leftover food in the mason jars. So yeah, you can do that. Like when I make a big batch of soup or stuff like that, I put the leftovers in the mason jars. So
Mason jars are excellent. They will go away because you'll be like, "Well, I thought I had more mason jars in this," and it's just like forks. They just disappear. But just go and get some more.
they just like plastic. They go away.
Correct. The next one, replace your plastic cooking utensils with wood and or bamboo utensils. Now, my whole thing is, aesthetically speaking, it's just more pleasing to look at wood and bamboo. It just gives a vibe. Like, don't get those cheap cooking utensils from the dollar store. First of all, that's a waste of money because they always break.
Or they
Um,
so flimsy,
they're
you can't eat
flimsy.
anything with them.
Exactly. And if you're trying to do some type of really hot cooking and you try to use a flimsy plastic, first of all, the plastic is going to start to melt, whether you see it or not. That's another thing.
Yes,
Next
yes.
thing you know, you're looking at this spatula and it's ate up and it's all bad because it's been melting in
And
your
your food,
food this
right,
whole time
right,
over
right,
long periods of time. So
right.
skip all of that. Go to Home Goods. Home Goods is a really good
It's cheap,
place
by
to
the
get some.
way.
It's very
The
cheap
bamboo and the wood
and it
utensils are really
lasts.
cheap. Yeah,
And again, it looks better.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Create a vibe.
Okay. And then we got our last one, which is everybody's favorite, is these pots and pans.
Non-stick.
I just replaced all of my pots and pans.
You did.
I had all these mismatched pots and pans, and all some of them was nonstick, some of them was Teflon, some of them was this. Well, what we found out is we're killing ourselves with the nonstick coatings because what happens is they flake off and they leach chemicals into your food.
Yeah.
So here's your swap: cast iron
Or stainless steel.
or stainless steel. And cast iron has become very popular all of a sudden.
It has.
I used to couldn't even find a cast iron skillet. Now I can go to wherever they sell utensils and find a cast iron skillet. Now, mind you, it's a little bit more maintenance with the cast iron. You got to know how to
If you
use it.
want to do it right,
Well, here's the key.
you
Well,
know,
you got to do it right because you can make your cast iron skillet non-stick.
you can.
So what you have to do though is, and it takes a few tries, by the way. The first time you use it, you might get a little discouraged on the cast iron skillet. But here's a tip. What you need to do is oil it. Every time you finish it, take about a teaspoon of coconut oil and put it in the bottom of that cast iron skillet. And what I always do is sit it back into the oven. Even though my oven is not being used at that moment, I keep my cast iron skillet in my oven and I keep that little heat, that little flame always in it. And it's baking the oil into the skillet so that it becomes nonstick. You have to do this ever so often. It doesn't, I just
It's
make it a
called
habit.
seasoning your skillet.
Seasoning the skillet.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what you have to do. Now, with stainless steel, it's a little different. A lot of people don't like to use stainless steel because they think it's going to stick as well. What I learned, the trick to that is, and ceramic too, you can also use ceramic, is to let it heat up first before you throw your food into it. So you
Mhm.
have to let it heat for like 3 minutes or so. And then you know how we like to, when we finish cutting up our stuff, we like to throw it in the skillet. Well, with stainless steel and also with ceramic, just let it sit there and heat up for about 3 minutes. I'll give you a little quick story. My husband was making some eggs the other day, and I bought this little small ceramic skillet, and he never used it before. But like men, he didn't even look at the skillet. He just threw it up on top of the stove, and he just started cooking his eggs in it. And I come in there, and I smell it, and it's burning, and it's sticking, and I'm like, okay, I didn't know you were going to use that, but I would have given you instructions. He said, well, I thought it was just a regular skillet. I said, well, it is, but it's not. So the next time he used it, I told him, I said, let it heat up for 3 minutes and then put your eggs in it. He did. It didn't stick. And now it's his favorite skillet.
Heat it up first.
Yep, heat it up first. So we know that you don't need to make all these swaps overnight. We're not trying to overwhelm you, but start with the items that you use the most often so you can make an impact on your family. You'll thank us later. Right now, you don't feel affected by these things because, it's not one of those things that you can see or feel until that check engine light comes on.
Yeah.
Okay. So consider gifting these items to your loved ones to help them to create non-toxic kitchens as well.
Small changes make the biggest impact.
Yep.
Just remember that.
Yep. So don't forget to share these kitchen swaps with everyone you love. So at this concludes it. We can go. Oh, by the way, one more thing. You will be able to go to our website at www.brownwomenwellness.com, and you will be able to see this under our show notes. And we will also add a few utensils and companies that we like to use. You'll be able to pick those up from our website. Okay.
All right.
So tell them, Keela, where they can find us.
Well, you can find us everywhere on social media, Brown Women Wellness, well, honestly, the podcast. You can also email us, info@brownwomenwellness.com with any kind of questions or any kind of feedback. Or if you would like to hear something on the podcast that you've never heard before, definitely feel free to email us. And then as always, brownwomenwellness.com.
All right. See you on the next
Peace,
go-round.
everyone. Thank you for listening to Well, Honestly, the podcast. If you want to know more about us and our products, check us out over on our website at brownwomenwellness.com. And remember, ladies, we are not doctors, and any information shared by us is not medical advice. Always follow your doctor's advice.
And don't forget to rate and review our podcast and let us know what you loved about this week's episode. And please subscribe to wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Feel free to email us and let us know what you would like to hear more of from us. Don't be afraid to say hi. We'll say hi right back to you.
Don't forget to find us across all social platforms at Brown Women Wellness. As always, show notes with the links to what we talked about today in this week's episode will be in the description box below. Thanks for listening.